Thank you so much for watching the video. I thought I'd just run you through some of the settings that I'm using for the Get Good Drums player and the way that I've processed some of the drums. So I'm using the contact player obviously, and I've got this on the multi-out advanced setting. It just means that I can have individual auxiliary channels for each of the pieces of the kit. You know, as you would if you mic'd up a real drum kit, you'd obviously have separate channels and you can process them individually rather than having to do it all within the contact player or just doing broad strokes on the top of one single channel. If you're interested in how I've done this, there's better tutorials than I'll be able to do on the Get Good Drums YouTube channel. So all you need to do is Google that and I'm sure you'll find what you need. So if we have a look inside Contact, we'll have a look at some of the settings that I'm using. So for the kick, it just looks like this. You can see that it's all routed out at the bottom for each of the auxiliary channels. I'm not using any of the processing on this one. If we go to the snare, then obviously I've got the turbo setting maxed out on the snare top just because I really like the sound. And you can see that this is my settings. With the toms, to be honest, I'm only really using tom 1, 2 and the floor tom, and their use is fairly sparse, so it doesn't really matter too much, but that's how I've got them set up. And then for the cymbals, this is what it looks like. On the ride channel, I've got the reverb pretty much almost maxed out, and that's a choice that I did for just this track. Because I felt that it worked better for the things that I'm doing. So if we have a look at the processing that I've got on each of the channels, if we have a look at the kick channel, I've treated this pretty much in the same way that Nolly treated his kick on the Creative Live Masterclass that he did, where he did a walkthrough of how he got some of the tones from Alpha. So I've got the R bass from Waves, and that's just adding some sub-harmonics in there. And then I'm using only the compressor setting, feature from the Shep's Omni channel just to help it sit in the mix a bit, make it really punchy. And then I'm using the FabFilter Pro Q3 just to help it sit. And then you'll notice that I've cut out quite a lot of the sub frequencies there. Which might seem counterintuitive, but the subharmonics are still there. They're just less apparent, which means that you don't end up with such a sub-heavy mix, especially with the kick. So that's basically all the processing that I've got on there. It's fairly sparse. If I show you what it sounds like, there we go. And if I turn these off, yeah, so you can hear that it just sort of helps it sit in the mix just a bit better. It makes it a bit punchier, a bit more present. So if we have a look at the snare and the way I've got this going, I'm using the Shep's Omni channel, but only on the preamp section, and I'm using the saturator section of that just to help it pop through the mix a little bit. So then if we move on to the Pro C, I'm using the nice and thick preset, which makes it nice and thick. Then we move on to the Pro Q3. Now on this one, there's a fairly large notch, and that's to remove the ring that you get out of the drum. I'll show you the difference with it in and out. So this is by itself. There's like a boom noise, but if I put this in, so it's not gone entirely, but it is less apparent. But that's basically it. I've got a limiter on the end just to make sure that it doesn't peak disgustingly. With regards to the send, on bus 1 I'm using plate reverb, which is lustrous plates from Liquid Sonics, which you get if you subscribe to the Slate Digital plugin bundle monthly thing. It's really cool, it sounds great, so I'm using that just to thicken up the sound of the snare. So if I play that again, just makes it a bit punchier. It's got a bit more of a tail end to it. Yeah, very apparent difference there. And then I'm using an EQ just to remove some of the sub frequencies from it and some of the top end, just because I want the snare to be punchy in the mid range as opposed to being, you know, really toppy. So I've just cut that out of the reverb for that as well. Now if we move on to the snare bottom, it's got no processing on it, but it's going to the same sends here. Bus 3 is my drum reverb, so it's like an extra room. It just helps to thicken out and make the drums sound a bit beefier, I think, and just helps them sit in the mix. And yeah, so if we move over to the toms are fairly straightforward. I've got a little bit of panning on them. I've added a little bit of EQ to Tom 2 and the floor one, just because I felt like I sort of wanted it. But to be honest, they're used so sparsely throughout the track that it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And then if we move on to the hi-hat, I've got a shelf on the top just to make these cymbals a little bit brighter. It just makes them a little bit sweeter as well, so if you're listening to it, it kind of fills in that frequency range, because the cymbals from Invasion are slightly dark sounding, I think, which is good because it's perfect for that sort of music, but I just felt like it needed it for this, so I did that. If we move on to the ride, I've got a little bit of EQ going on there just because the ride was a little bit dark sounding, so I added in some higher frequencies there just to make it sit better for the context that it's in, which isn't, I mean, this music isn't overly heavy, so I wanted to move away from having a really dark sounding ride, so I just added in quite a big boost around 5k. It seemed to sort it out. Then if we move to the overheads, again I've just got a shelf in there just to sweeten it up, and then that's pretty much it, to be honest. Bus 2 is my parallel compressor. I'll show you what it sounds like with that off, and then I'll show you what it sounds like with it on. And the parallel compressor just really makes things a bit sweeter, a bit more punchy, a bit more lively. So that's what I'm using Bus 2 for. So this is what it sounds like with the parallel compressor off. And if I bring that in, you can hear that it just makes it a bit beefier. It brings out some of the sibilance of the cymbals and makes them more apparent. It just makes everything beefier, it makes it sound better. So that's why I'm using the parallel compressor. And then with regards to the setting of that, I'm using the parallel compressor setting, or parallel compression setting, on the Fab filter, and I tweaked it slightly, but it pretty much just did what I wanted out of the box, so I just left it. And I need to mention how good the samples are here, because these samples, they sound great out of the box, and so you don't really need to do that much to them to make them sound really good. So yeah, literally just using the stock things has worked fantastically, and if it works, then that's fine. With regards to the drum reverb, I'm using the Pro R to build another bit of space, and that's just mostly just to fill it out a bit. And I'm using some EQ on the end there just to sweeten up the reverb, and so it doesn't get too muddy. So massive thank you to Joe from GGD for hooking me up with Invasion and helping me out with some user error at some points. He's been an enormous help, so thank you very much. And thank you to anyone who's watched this and is interested in this. Feel free to drop me a message if you've got any questions. Yeah, thank you very much. Goodbye.